Hallo, liebe Eikenhirn-Freunde hier zu der Stanley Parable Folge 9. In Folge 8 habe ich kein Anmod gemacht, weil ich 7 und 8 Stück aufgenommen habe. Auf alle Fälle, ich habe hier den Eimer mal aufgehoben und würde mal sagen, folgen wir mal als erstes die Story mit dem Eimer. Da bin ich gespannt.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Oh ja, mein netter, schöner Eimer. Den nehme ich gern mit.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers.
So, antworten. So, dann mal hier rein.
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you?
Das ist mein
The
Eimer.
aura of jealousy? It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket. This is your companion and lifelong friend. You can't hand it over. Oh no. We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk, that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stanley,
Das ist mein Eimer.
I never liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons, but even this is worse than I had imagined. And wait, now the broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting friends? That your relationship is purely superficial and convenient? That your life is so banal and meaningless that you'd feel the same sort of kinship towards any inanimate object which happened to lay in your path in an even partially enticing manner? Well, I never. Go on, Stanley. Lay into it. Really tell the broom closet off for its demeaning comments. Expand on the wide variety of experiences you and the bucket have shared together. Go through each of them point by point. Share your journal entries detailing the rich emotional landscape of your feelings for the bucket as they have changed and evolved over the years. Let him have it.
Das ist mein Eimer. Böse, Besenkammer. Mein Eimer.
Okay, I've got you something which I think will help settle this debate once and for all. Here we go. There.
Ah, genau.
Now it's settled. No more debate, no more discussion. Take a hike, broom closet, with all your meandering philosophical diatribes about the nature of cleaning supplies and their relationship to broom closets in the natural order of things.
Ja, es ist mein Eimer. Jetzt steht es auch, drauf, dass es mein Eimer ist.
All right, I've got a second sticker back here, and I'm going to slap it on as well because I think it's appropriate. You see? I feel that it works because the sticker is also a bucket.
Oh yeah.
That way, if you're ever unsure whether the thing you're holding is a bucket or not, you can look down at this sticker and say to yourself, ah, it's a bucket. There really is a wide variety of
deswegen ist das
applications
drauf.
for this sticker.
Natürlich. Sonst würde ich nicht wissen, dass das ein Eimer ist.
You know what? I could take the name-calling and the dismissal of your kinship with the bucket, but now the broom closet is just giving us the silent treatment. And to be honest, I'm sick of the pettiness on display. You can stay here all you like, but I've had it with this impetulant room of cleaning supplies. Easily the most childish such room I've ever been in. I'll see you outside, and we can get on with the story about you and your bucket.
Wer wartet draußen? Ich bleib noch. Ich glaube, ich kann raus, ja. So. Nö, da kommt nichts mehr. Dann können wir weiter. Auf nach oben.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Oh ja. Da kann ich doch bestimmt rein. Trophäe.
You found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
Ja, diese Figuren mag ich auf alle Fälle alle haben. So. Hier wieder was? Nö. Dann mal rein da.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him always. The bucket would, and he knew it. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the PIN number for the keypad was 2845.
2845, wie? Nö, dieses Mal nicht. Dieses Mal mache ich es nicht.
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
Daumen drehen. Ich tue weiter meine Daumen drehen. Ja, definitiv. Daumen drehen.
2845.
2845. Nö, mache ich nicht. Na, was willst du machen?
Forgot, but it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked
Schon wieder das.
and the door just opened all by itself. And Stanley got the hell along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo.
So. Die nächste Figur.
Another miniature Stanley figurine. This, you know, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini-stands?
Ich will auch weitere Mini-Stands.
Stanlerines? Yes,
Nee.
I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
Mini-Stand für dich cooler. Naja, dann mal runter. An sich kann man das alle nochmal machen. Mit dem Eimer, der Erzähler macht dann andere Geschichten teilweise daraus.
An unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
Okay. Mein lieber braver Eimer.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
Ja, da gehen wir hin.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
Ja, ich spring runter. Das ist langweilig.
Just as Stanley was about to proceed further into the mind control facility, he tripped and fell over the railing and into the dark void below. Thankfully, he fell directly onto the bucket, which safely cushioned his fall. Now,
Auf den Eimer gefallen.
what to do next? Stanley wondered. Stanley and the bucket could find no way out of this enormous pit, and so eventually they decided that the best thing to do would be to simply get comfortable down here.
Ja.
So they sat up on a little couch and relaxed. It really wasn't so bad down here, a bit cold perhaps. After some time had gone by, they installed a few shelves as well, and a sort of kitchenette that was useful for when the bucket was craving paninis. But it wasn't until the rugs and the standing lamps came in that it really started to feel like a home. In fact, after some time, Stanley realized that it had been ages since he had even thought of the mind control facility at all. He'd never gotten to fully explore what was up there, never been able to unearth the many mysteries of the mind control facility. This lack of closure began to eat at him. Soon he was dwelling on his regrets, and the state of their home slowly decayed as Stanley became withdrawn and neglected the cleaning. It unsettled the bucket deeply. Stanley wasn't usually like this. The bucket tried to reach out to him again and again, but to no avail. All Stanley could think about, all he could talk about, was going back, doing it over again, staying on the path. It was a mistake to leave the path. It was a mistake. It was a mistake. I need to do what the narrator says. I need to see the true ending. This made no sense at all to the bucket, which was simply trying to live its life down here as comfortably as possible. Yet Stanley was inconsolable. This isn't an ending. This is just a hole in the ground. The bucket sighed. True, it wasn't an ending. But it's where we happen to be. And maybe, possibly, if we accept the reality of things, maybe this will become an ending eventually. It's what the bucket was counting on. The two of them waited for a very long time.
Eine sehr lange Zeit. Okay. Ach, okay, das war's. Das habe ich nicht erwartet.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Oh, how we can find them. Also, wie finden wir sie? Was wir wissen. Schmale, fliegende Objekte. Ja. Agenda. How can you tell you've spotted one? What makes them float in the air? Who took these pictures from it? Quickly are hard to find. Follow clues provided by employee 416. Thank you, good luck. Okay, viel Glück. Okay, dankeschön. Und viel Spaß, sag ich mal. Okay. Eine Präsentation, wie man die Main Distance findet.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
So, da sind
Stepping
wir.
into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any
Ah, das
human
kennen wir
life.
doch schon.
Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire, if not for the soothing presence.
Oh.
But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Oh ja, ich kenne den Code vom Eimer. War, ja, so sollte es auch sein. So, dann mal runter. Jetzt will ich natürlich noch das richtige Ende sehen.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
So.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
Da bin ich auch gespannt. Was für ein Ort das hier ist. Das wissen wir natürlich gar nicht.
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs.
Ja, ich bin ein
Bucket had never
Meerschweinchen.
seen anything
Nee,
like this,
ein
and it
Eichhörnchen.
very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
Ja, alles klar, Herr Kommissar.
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind.
Ja, das stimmt, ich hab einen schwachen
No!
Geist.
He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter, his one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system.
Ja, nieder mit dem System. Dem Gedankenkontrollsystem. So.
When at
Natürlich
last
schalte
they
ich
came
aus.
to the source of the room's power, Stanley and the bucket knew it was their obligation to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Genau. Dann aus damit.
Stanley and the bucket waited in blackness.
Oh ja.
Is it over?
Ja, es ist vorbei.
Yes, they had done it. Stanley and the bucket had defeated their greatest and darkest enemy, freed themselves from the tyrannical grip of the evil mind control machine. Freedom was now mere moments away. Excitedly, the two of them began to discuss the kind of life they wanted to live once they stepped through this massive door. The bucket wanted to learn to roller skate. Stanley wanted to sneeze in every country on Earth. Both of them wanted to begin watching a movie, any movie, but then
Oh, yeah.
stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the end. True, it was a simple life they envisioned, but it was one
Aber ich
they
wollte
lived
schon
together,
immer
with one another
in
to
jedem
lean
Land
on, to
niesen.
trust, to support.
Ja, was ist los? Was ist los?
Wait, what was happening? Why had the door stopped? Was Stanley and the bucket not about to be freed? An unbearable silence filled the room, lingering in uncertainty, until finally the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave. Even the facility itself recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket, needed
Das
the
ist andere
soothing warmth of the
Rassismus.
bucket, go to any lengths not to part with the bucket. No, no, no. Stanley can't leave this place. Not while he has such a precious bucket in his arms. Not while this building has anything to say about it. Stanley realized he would never again leave this very room. But at least he has the bucket. To be trapped
ja.
eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley thought to himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right? I'll be okay, won't I? Stanley gulped. Very soon now, he was about to find out.
Ja, der arme Eimer. Einfach diskriminiert.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Was steht denn da? Pilgrims Finder Committee. Meeting today in the meeting room. Ah, okay. Also, da ist das Meeting natürlich immer noch
The
dort.
confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket.
So, dann bin ich auch schon wieder hier. Erst mag ich natürlich wissen, was passiert,
When
wenn
at
ich
last they came to the
anschalte.
source of the room's power, Stanley and the bucket knew it was their obligation to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for. But at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls. Stanley gasped
böser Eimer.
in horror. Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take over the machine and claim the power for itself? How could the bucket have betrayed
Der
him
böse
like this?
Eimer.
Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen. Birds. Silly, silly birds. The control buttons became active again.
Wie? Sind wieder aktiv? Okay, die Knöpfe funktionieren wieder anscheinend. Mal schauen.
Stanley flipped through one video of silly birds after another, and then it dawned on him. This wasn't a mind control facility at all. It was a facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world. The mind controls were only a
Pinguine.
facade to disguise its true intentions. Had the bucket known this all along? Stanley marveled at the metal genius in his hands, the one who had pointed him towards this incredible discovery. Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place, flipping through live streams of the silliest birds imaginable. Of all the possible paths his life could have taken, this one was surely the best. And Stanley was happy.
Oh ja. Ich bin sehr zufrieden. Schöne Vögel. So, dann würde ich in der nächsten Folge mal weiterschauen, wie die anderen Enten noch so mit dem Eimer sind. Ich wünsche euch was. Bis zum nächsten Mal. Ciao, ciao.